Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's Mr. Q, your friendly neighborhood Qatar here, and I am joined with a mega fan of Formula One. Everybody's talking about Formula One because we're hosting something very important. But before we talk about that, wanted to ask you about yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Sheena McCabe, and I love F1. And I've been following F1 since I was 7 years of age. I remember sitting down next to my dad while he was watching it on a Sunday, and I just got hooked. And his favorite team was McLaren.
Okay.
I like them, and I still do. I like the speed, and I like the risk that they take, but also I love the strategy, and I like watching the safety, how they've evolved with the safety over the years, because that's kind of my background. Mm-hmm. So I just love it. There's more to it than getting in the car and racing as fast as you can. No.
I want to go based on what you just said right now.
Yeah.
You said strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, because to a lot of people, okay, the strategy is you start at the starting line and you try to get to the finish. But there's more to that.
There's a lot more to it. Let's just have a look at what exactly is F1. Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsports. There's 10 teams with 2 drivers per team, so there's 20 drivers. There is 2 parts to the competition. There's the Drivers' Championship, and then there's the Constructors' Championship. Every driver wants to be a Formula One world champion. Every constructor, that's the team, wants to be a constructor world champion. So the idea is to get your drivers across those lines as quick over the finish line first, second or third, as often as you possibly can. So in order to do that, they need to have a strategy. How are they going to deal with a particular track? Because not every car is suited to every track. Not every driver is familiar with every track. And the track it's never just a circle. They have chicanes, they have bends, they have straights, they have areas where it's easier to overtake, areas where it's not easy to overtake, and they have speed limits at certain points.
Oh, there's a speed limit?
Yeah, at certain points
Okay.
they'll have bringing down. They're traveling over 230 miles an hour. One of the key things, as I said, is to get one of the drivers across into a podium position, which is first or second or third, where the big points are. But if you can finish in the top 10, you still get points. They have strategists in the teams, and they at the start of a race, they'll know exactly when they're going to do the pit stops, what tyres they're going to use, and that all depends on the weather, as well as the type of track. Now with Qatar, this is interesting because no F1 driver has ever driven on the track here. No F1 car has ever been on this track.
And is that rare?
Today, yes, it's rare. And nobody's been on it. There's not even the simulation of the track for them to practice. So I would strongly advise people to come along to watch this, because this is going to get interesting. Friday morning they do a practice, and Friday afternoon they do a practice. And this will be their opportunity to get the car out on the tracks and get used to the track, see whose car is suited to that track. And then they set the car up to manage a race, and they do this over 3 practices. That's a Friday morning, Friday afternoon, and a Saturday morning. There will be, no doubt, quite a few spin-offs, because this is a track they do not know, and they've got to learn this track in 3 practice sessions.
Well, you said spin-offs, and then you also talked earlier about safety, being something that was important to you. So, fun fact, and maybe you're aware of this, but Qatar's Losail track is actually the most illuminated in the world. In fact, if you had all of the lights set up from Moscow all the way to Doha, they would go, and just a little bit extra as well. Or that's how many lights we actually have on our track.
Well, this is going to be great, because when you think about the races happening at 5, starts at 5 and finishes at 7, that is going to give a lot of atmosphere. It's going to look good. Actually, I prefer the evening races. It is a lot.
Of that flair.
Yeah, that flair. It seems faster, and it just gives a different atmosphere as well. And it is a great fun to be there and to see such a a race. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we know from a safety point of view, then the visibility is not going to be an issue. But
yeah, visibility. I mean, if you've watched F1 this season, you will have seen them racing in torrential rain. And one of the things about these cars is they do not have windscreen wipers. They do not have headlights. And as we were just saying before, they don't have horns.
No horns.
There's no horns.
You know, that's why you don't see a Qatari F1 Formula One driver. You know, because we need to flash those headlights now and then. I'm just saying.
I'd like to see them have a go at trying to overtake an F1 car. The whole thing about F1, I like about it is the safety. I mean, F1 started in 1950. And they had they had no seat belts. Some of them wore helmets, some of them didn't. And when they crashed, they'd get thrown out of the car. And of course, over the years, this has grown to a state where the whole car, it's completely different. It's very aerodynamic, but it's got built-in safety. Let's have a look at if we look at the cockpit. In the cockpit, they have a seat, and that seat is molded to the driver. And they have a 6-point harness included in there, because the G-forces that they face at traveling at 200 odd miles an hour is amazing, and they need to be able to anchor themselves in, and they need to have a very strong core as well in order to withstand this. So in the car they have the seat. Now this seat is amazing. If they crash and they are unconscious or unable to get out of the car, this becomes their stretcher, their backboard. So the extraction team will take off the 6-point harness, they will strap them to the seat, and they will put an extra bit of the seat behind their head. The helmet will have come off, and the fire hood that they have on will be used as an anchor to keep their head steady. And then they'll lift them up and out of the car.
I've never seen that before.
No, it's amazing what the technology in this. They put them on onto a stretcher, and then it's got hinges, and they just slowly lower them down. The barriers. The last big crash this year was with Max Verstappen in Silverstone. He went off, hit the barrier at 15 Gs, and he was knocked unconscious. But fortunately, he was able to get out, but the G's that they're hitting and the speed that they're hitting at, it can actually
cause a lot of internal
trauma, and sometimes it's better to lift them up and out of it. The rest of the cockpit, they have when they get in, then these headrests are put in alongside them to keep the heads from bashing about. They also have what's called a halo, which is a titanium defense in front of them. So when tires are flying through the air, it doesn't hit on the head.
I saw a video yesterday of actually it wasn't even a tire, it was a bolt that had flown into.
Yeah, it was Felipe Messi. Yeah, he was hit in the head with it was a spring off the back of a car, went in through his visor and stuck in his head. They actually had the visors now are reinforced to be able to withstand anything that hits it. But
was that because of
that was for the visor, but the halo was because of the death of quite a few drivers, particularly Senna, where he was hit. When he went through, he hit his head, and if they had this halo, it deflects it. And last year it saved Romain Grosjean, who used to drive for Haas, when he crashed in Bahrain and his car burst into flames. He went through a barrier, and that barrier, the halo deflected it, saved his head, and he was able to get out the fire. Now, when we talk about fire, this is the biggest fear of any of the drivers, and they have flameproof overalls, which can withstand temperatures of 600 to 800 degrees. They have those on, and they have to get out of the car within 11 seconds, and that's how long it protects them. And they have fireproof boots and gloves as well. And then of course the helmet, the helmet is attached to a HANS system. It's the head and neck support system. It rests on the shoulder, and there's a frame that goes at the back of their head, which is attached to the helmet. And when they get into the car, it's strapped in to them with the seats. Now, when they de-accelerate, whether they have an accident, collide into somebody or into a barrier, normally your head gets thrown forwards. At the force that they're driving at, it would kill them. It would separate their head from the spine. Wow. So they have this system which steadies the head. There's a lot of safety. I can go on.
How hot would it get though to wear all of these layers?
Well, in the cockpit, it gets to 50 degrees.
Wow.
And particularly in the Middle East and in Asia, it gets a lot hotter. Part of their training is to do heat heat endurance training,
Right.
Because they need to keep going for 2 hours.
It is amazing.
It is, and they are athletes. People think it's just, they don't need
We
to
complain
be.
it's hot just getting out of the car, walking into the building, you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. They don't have air conditioning, so you don't have headlights, you don't have horns, you don't have air conditioning, and they have a drink system, but they have to endure this. And they do, because they do the training and they're physically fit. They are athletes. There's not an ounce of fat on any of them. And people don't realize how physically demanding driving a racing car is. The pressures and the stresses on the body with the G-force is enough. They've got to wrestle the car. They've got to have good cardio, good physical strength. Yeah, it's amazing. And they have to be very sharp as well, because they have to maintain their reactions as well. They all have personal trainers, and if you are interested, you can look on Daniel Ricciardo and Michael Italiano, and you'll see the sessions of training that Daniel Ricciardo, the driver for McLaren, goes through to get himself physically fit, ready for a race, for the season, and then how that is maintained by Michael throughout the year. And Michael is also my coach.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's my physical fitness and nutritional coach. I'm on a transformation, and I've been doing this for about 4 months. And if you're going to go choose a good trainer, choose an F1 trainer. Yeah, that's a hint. Very good, Tim. Yeah.
Tip. Well, shout out to you, Michael. Okay, so of course, because Qatar is hosting the Formula One for the first time, can you let us know about a little bit about the teams, what to expect?
Okay. So like I said, we got 10 teams. And for the race, we're coming towards the 20th race of the season. After here, they go to Saudi, and then they go to Abu Dhabi, where it ends. The race for the championship this year is between two, which is Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. And who knows who's going to win? This is what's exciting about this. Qatar could be the decider.
Okay.
It could very well be. They've just finished in Mexico, where Verstappen won, and he's ahead of Hamilton. Next, they're into Brazil. Okay. Now, Brazil is a track that's suited to Red Bull, so he could get ahead again. But nobody knows about Qatar. Nobody knows if this is going to be the track where Verstappen can win the World Championship or lose it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and for Hamilton, would be his 8th World Championship. At the moment he's matching Michael Schumacher at 7, and I'd like him to get his 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do people typically choose their favorite team though? Is it like, oh, I like that car brand, so I'll vote, or is it, oh, I like that individual, so how do you choose? It's
all very hit and miss, because I started watching and liked McLaren because my dad liked McLaren, and I just carried on watching McLaren. Some people, yes, like Mercedes, like Ferraris, with the history. They look at the history and think, oh, I'm following that team. For some people, it is the actual driver that they follow, the personality, because there's a lot of personalities, and then people tend to be drawn to these personalities. People get drawn to those that win a lot. So it's all down to the individuals what they want to look at.
So you're following McLaren because you're following your father's passion.
Yes.
He's handed over the baton.
He has. And the good thing is, in McLaren at the moment, they've had a few lean years, but they're now starting to progress through. They won they got 3rd in the constructors last year. They're battling with Ferrari this year for 3rd again, which is another thing to watch out for when in Qatar, because we will be interested to see how they fare. And McLaren has got a new boss, Zach Brown, who's he's pulled together a really good team. This is what I also like about F1 is the teamwork. It's a good team. He surrounded himself with people, very talented people. He's got a car that's coming through, and also he's got a good driver lineup in Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. Lando is only 3 years into F1, and this year he's certainly found his place, and he's found his accelerator pedal, and he's been on the podium 4 times this year, so he's doing well.
So you mentioned team, and again, I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, I had watched this short that appeared online showing how in the 1960s how slow it took for the pit team, to change the wheels and everything, and now how fast it is.
Yes, yeah.
It's like in a split second.
It is. You talk, if it's 3 seconds, it's what? That was a long time. Yeah, they rehearse and they practice, and there's actually a league now, a DHL league, each season, who does the fastest pit stops, and at the moment it's Red Bull.
Red Bull have the fastest.
They're top in there, and it's a matter.
Are they the pit team?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, so it's where all the garages are, and it's where the cars are kept, and that's where the cars start to go out on the grid, and when the race is over, they all go back to there. And in there is a group of men and women who are the pit crew. Their job is to change the tyres or change wings or any other damaged part of the vehicle, and they have a matter of seconds to do it in. And they all know what their role is. And as soon as the car is coming in, they see the car, they come in, they're out there ready to stop the car, do the wheels, and they're off. And if they get it wrong, it can cost an actual race. An actual race. And I'm going to mention them again. Monaco 2016, Daniel Ricciardo was ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and he went in for his pit stop, and they called him in, and they weren't ready. They didn't have his tyres. He sat there, and Lewis Hamilton was catching up, and when he came out of the pit with his new tyres, Hamilton went straight past them.
How long was he in the pit?
I think it was 4 or 5 seconds. Wow. And these cars go so fast, and there's just, you can put a very thin piece of paper between them with the times. And he ended up, because Monaco is difficult to overtake, he came second, and they lost him the Monaco race. And it shows you how important it is.
Well, that's what I was going to say. As much as we put the attention on the drivers, and of course, they're phenomenal athletes, the pit crew is just as important.
Your principal, who manages the team, and the strategy comes through from the principal, and then you've got the engineer. Each driver has an engineer, and they have to have that working relationship with the engineer, because that engineer has to second guess what he's going to do, and vice versa. So you can actually listen to some of the radio messages, radio conversations on YouTube, just to hear what exactly happens.
Communicate, okay.
Yeah, and you've got to imagine you're driving at 200 odd miles an hour, and you're getting instructions relayed to you via your engineer, and you're having to apply those at the same time as overtake somebody.
So I'll ask you a question. So have you ever driven a Formula One car?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Simulator?
No.
Not even a simulator?
No, I haven't.
Wasn't there a simulator that was in the Qatar Science and Technology Park? Was it a McLaren simulator?
Oh, I'd die if it was.
I think it was. I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask to see if they.
Yeah.
I'll look into it, and I'll get in touch with you.
Oh, that would be great. Oh, that would be absolutely wonderful. That would be fantastic. No, I mean, to drive, just to do the simulator would just be something just to experience.
So, who are your top 4 teams to watch out for coming week?
Okay. It's down to the championships. So it's Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari. So there's a lot of battling, there's a lot of defense, and there's a lot of overtaking, and it's quite an exciting experience to watch those. Then you've got Hamilton and Verstappen fighting for this world championship. They've already crashed 3 times. Wow. And
is that a lot?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 doesn't seem like a lot to me.
No, but for 2, the same drivers.
Okay.
Both at the same time.
Okay. You mean with
because the last crash they had, Verstappen parked his car on top of the Mercedes. So, it just shows you, it's worth watching that one, and you'll see why the halo is so important. Okay. Because one of the wheels was over Hamilton's head, and it was still and his head was below it, and he was very lucky.
He got very lucky.
Very lucky. So those are the 2 teams. So so you've got Ricciardo and Lando, and then you've got Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. So those are the top 4. But there's plenty of other teams. Michael Schumacher's son's there now, Mick Schumacher, first year. We've got Alonso, who's come back as well, and he's in Alpine, and so you've got some good pedigree there. So, and then you've got Sebastian Vettel. He's still a 4-time world champion. And then it's Raikkonen's last year. He's 40. He's retiring from Alfa Romeo.
From Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, he's a world champion. So, and he's a character. called him the Iceman. He walks around with his sunglasses on.
All right, we've actually asked a lot of questions. However, question I have for you is, what's a Shoei?
This is something, this is a certain driver's signature celebration when he gets a win or a podium. They get the champagne, they shake it up and they set off the cork and spray everybody with champagne. When he's done that, he sits down, takes his boot off and fills it with champagne and he drinks out of it. And that's the Shoei.
That's a Shoei.
And then anyone on the podium better watch out because you're going to end up drinking out of it as well. And yeah, so
if you had the opportunity, would you like to drink out of Shoei?
I would. I mean, it's such an iconic. I mean, there's quite a lot of famous people, actors and presenters who have presented it, the awards, and then they've actually been cornered and had to drink out of his boot. So yeah, and it would be lovely if he was to win this, get on the podium. I don't know if people would like to see a Shoei here, but that's what he does.
All right, well, before we end this, I just wanted you maybe just to look straight into the camera. Maybe you could just let people know around the world what to look forward to when they come here in Qatar.
When you come to Qatar, well, this time of year, the weather's perfect. And what I love about getting outside of Qatar is going for walks. Walk at the Pearl, walk at Qatar. I don't very rarely go into any of the malls. I'm outside, and you can travel up to Secret. You can go across, and there's beaches. There's plenty to do. It's great. Come to Qatar. It's worth it.
Well, thank you so much, Sheena. Yeah. We've just heard from mega fan, Formula One mega fan, Sheena, and I think we've learned a lot. In fact, we're not going to be able to squeeze everything into this little episode, but what we're going to do is we're going to leave this whole interview on a podcast so that you can listen to everything and learn from what Sheena had to share. So for those of you that are interested in the Formula One Ooredoo Qatar Grand Prix, links down below so that you can go ahead and buy your tickets. Thank you. Bye, Salama.